Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a different video for you today. I'm going to be creating a little book using these Created for His Purpose cards from Bythewell4God. I will include my affiliate link down below if you want to get a hold of these. These are just some scripture cards, and I was challenged by one of my followers to see if I could create a binding for this book. You can see it comes with the rings, and in the past I have done like a coil binding, but she asked me to find a way to create a binding using fabric but without sewing. So I have these two fabrics that I got from Bythewell4God to coordinate with the kit, and so I'm probably going to use those. And then I also, you could even use like, you know, the burlap bag that it comes in, but I also have these bow clips that came in the kit. And I have pulled out some other ones that I have in my stash that also just coordinate with these colors. So I'm just going to disassemble them here. And so what I'm going to do basically is I'm going to create my binding out of all of these little pieces. So I went and ironed them all nice and flat to make cutting them easier. I'm going to set the cards off to the side for a minute. And I'm bringing out, this is self-healing mat, and just going to cut my fabrics down. Now, I originally thought I was going to use these two big fabrics, but it ended up that I had enough of the little pieces from the bow clips that I just ended up using those. So what I'm going to be doing today is creating what's called a tab binding. So it's really very simple to do. With this many pages, it's a little bit time consuming. But for me, it was a lot of fun. So I'm just using my little mat here, and I'm just going to show you kind of what I'm doing. So for this one piece of fabric from the bow clip, I need to square up the edges. So I have a rotary cutter here and my Tim Holtz ruler that's got the steel side, and I'm just going to square up these edges, and then I'm going to trim down this piece of fabric so that I can make basically tabs that are about an inch by half an inch, 3/4 of an inch, something like that. Keeping in mind, you know, that the cards themselves are only 4x4. So if you had like a bigger journal, you could obviously make bigger tabs. You'd want to make bigger tabs. You can do this particular method to like even bind signatures together. But for today, we're just going to be doing this individually. So I'm just kind of lining everything up here, you can see, and then just trying to make sure that I'm cutting it right. So it's just taking me a second, and I'm using the lines on my self-healing mat here to kind of guide me. So you can see I'm just, trimming off just a little bit so that I have about an inch, and then I'm going to go every half an inch here and make my little tabs. And then I'm going to do this. I'm just doing this individually on one piece right now just so you can see, but I'm going to go through and do that for all of those pieces of fabric. Of course, you can cut more than one at a time, so I'm just showing the process here. And then I'm going to do that with all those little fabrics. And what I'm going to do here is just create a tab. So it's going to, like on the very front cover, you'll have, kind of showing you here, like 3 tabs kind of spaced apart. And then on the next piece, you'll have 2 kind of in between those 3, and then you fold them over. It will make more sense once we get started. But now I have all of my fabrics sorted and cut. I'm just keeping them separate. I have a couple of pink colors, a couple of the bluish green, and then a gray and a black. And so I'm going to use my little mat here just to kind of guide me as I'm going along with this. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just kind of show you how this is going to look. So again, these are 4x4 squares. Also, I'm using Fabri-Tac just because I want it to dry quickly, and also it's a really good adhesive for fabrics, obviously, and it will dry completely clear and everything. So what I'm doing here on this first card is I've picked out this kind of pink color, and I have my 3 fabric pieces. I'm kind of just eyeballing. If you wanted to make this very specific, like you could measure and create a template and whatever. That's just not what I'm going to do. So I'm just kind of showing here. So on this first card, you're going to have 3 and then the next card will have 2, and you just kind of alternate back and forth. I hope that makes sense. But so what I'm going to do, I lined those 2 up in the middle just to kind of make sure that I had the spacing right. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue here on the edge of the card and just tacking down. This is going to be the front side. I did this first one kind of facing me just to make sure that I could get the spacing right where I wanted it. And then, because from here, everything else kind of, I'm just going to eyeball it. So that is the first cover, and then you're going to flip it over, face, so that it's the right side down. And I'm going to work on the second page. Now, the second page, I'm going to add 2 tabs, and I'm just picking a different color of tab, and you can see I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm always adhering the new tabs onto the left side and alternating back and forth between 3 or 2 depending on which card I'm on. So you can see me here, I'm adding the 2, and I'm just making sure I have these cards lined up, and I'm making sure that my little fabric pieces are going in between the other 3 pieces of fabric. I hope that makes sense. And then I'm going to take this, I'm just going to let it dry here for 1 second. And then I'm going to take this card and flip it over to the back side and lay it on top, directly on top of the first card. And then those 3 pieces from the front are going to get wrapped around and glued to the back of the second card. And that is what's going to hold this together. So you can see I'm just adding a little bit of glue. It's kind of a stringy glue, but it will work. And then I'm just going to hold these down. And I'm not wrapping them super, super tight. I want there to be a little bit of give so that I have room if I want to add embellishments or anything to these cards, kind of like the way that I did in my last one. But you can see this then makes the hinge. And so now I have 2 that are going to wrap. So now I need to add 3 tabs to this. So you're just going to alternate 3, 2, 3, 2. And so now I'm going to use just black. And one way to kind of help make sure that you are doing this right is the card that's facing up on the left side, however many you have glued down, that's the number that you're on. So you can see on the left side I have 3 tabs. I need to glue 3 tabs onto this next card. It's just kind of a way to keep track if you get lost in the process. But basically you're just always gluing the one that's on the bottom set of tabs. So I have these black ones here. I have my 3 tabs lined up. I'm just going to lay this now face down on top of that other card, just lining it up really carefully. And then I'll take those 2 gray tabs and glue them down, and that's going to be what creates the tab, or the hinge for this particular card. I needed just a little bit more glue here. I think I actually added it in the wrong space, so yeah, I had to wipe it off. It won't hurt anything, but I just added it in the wrong place. So now I have 3 tabs, the black ones, that will be the next wrapping. So just kind of making sure everything is straight and everything, and then you can kind of see how this process works. So now I have 2 tabs that I just glued down, so I'm going to add 2 more to this next card, and I just decided to do a different color here. I didn't really do any kind of specific plan with the colors of the tabs. I just kind of went with, I tried to do ones that I hadn't done previously, or, for a couple cards or whatever, just kind of alternating back and forth just through all, keeping it really eclectic. For the style of this journal and the kind of the theme of the cards and the theme of the devotional and everything, I just kind of wanted to keep it all really fabricy. So now we're at the very last card here. I went ahead and did all that off camera so you didn't have to watch me. You're just going to, instead of adhering anything to this last card, you're just going to wrap those last tabs around the back side of the cover. And that's it. It's more time consuming than it is difficult. And you can see this is what the spine looks like. The great thing about this is you can see I had more than I needed there, but I have all my little tabs, and I love how it looks with all the different colors and everything in there. And the great thing about it is it opens pretty much flat. So if you want to kind of work on any of these pages, if you wanted to add dimension or anything, you could totally do that. If you wanted to just keep it as this little book that you can flip through, it's also totally fine. You just want to make sure you don't wrap them too tightly. There's, you know, just give yourself a little wiggle room. And anyway, and that's it. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Oh, I forgot. I went back and decided to round the corners. This was kind of a last minute decision there. So anyway, that's what I was doing, just rounding all of the corners. You can kind of see some of these tabs I didn't glue like completely down. I want that fabric to kind of fray, or be for me to be able to pull little threads out and stuff, just to add to the look of it. So anyway, if you liked this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and until next time, bye-bye.